Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is From Left to Right USA. I am the captain, and the topic of this video, I'm going to be speaking on the $1 billion prison project in Alabama. Now, this is going to be a little bit longer of a video because I want to give as much information possible about this project, the reason why it's being built, also the specifics that go into getting it completed. There are people who have opinions that go against the building of these prisons and the reason for them, and so on and so forth. So I want to give as much information and background as possible to give a full picture and scope of what's going on with it. Now, I do live in Alabama, born and raised, live here currently, and so this does affect me to a certain extent because of tax money, et cetera, right? Now, Governor Kay Ivey, who I did not vote for, okay, I did not vote for this lady. In this last election, she was reelected, and so that's neither here nor there, really, because this situation with the prisons is separate from my view of her as a governor necessarily. So, all right, I'm gonna start with the reason for a $1 billion prison. Okay, now Alabama has been under federal scrutiny, even in investigations, because of the conditions of Alabama prisons. We have some of the highest rates of violence within prisons. There have been complaints of substandard living conditions, right, with running water issues, sewage, lack of health care, et cetera, et cetera. There's been just complaints from all around about the conditions of our prison system. Now, Kay Ivey proposed building a new prison and making it larger. So the prisons now, they're overcrowded. That's another issue. So if they build a bigger facility, more state of the art, it can house more inmates and it just be better overall conditions for the inmates. Now, there are those who don't like the way the funding for the project is being handled. Kay Ivey did announce that $100 million of the state education budget will be used for the prison. Now, that got a lot of people in an uproar because on the surface, it looks like they're using the money for the children, for schools, public schools here in Alabama, for the building of a prison. Okay. But that's not necessarily what the issue, that's not necessarily the way it is, because there's an article that I have this is from WSFA.com. It's a local news station in Alabama, and they give a little bit more information about that $100 million from the education budget. And I'm going to read to you guys what was said. Now, it says the referenced funding would support the construction of only the education and vocational facilities at the planned 4,000 bed Elmore and 4,000 bed Escambia prison facilities. These funds would be restricted such that they could not be used for any purpose related to those projects beyond the construction and equipping of the education and vocational facilities. Prison education is presently funded through the education budget and is administered by the Alabama Community College system. So what that is saying is the education that you get while incarcerated is already funded through the Alabama State Educational Funds. So they're not using any money that they normally wouldn't use, right? So what they're saying is they're going to use that $100 million for educational and vocational facilities at the prison. So it's the same thing. They're not using any monies that they normally wouldn't already be using. Okay. There's a big misconception about that. I've been seeing a lot of people mention this and they say they're stealing money from the kids. That's not what's going on. Okay, now it continues. We believe it's critical to have high quality, state-of-the-art educational and vocational facilities as a component of that construction effort that is consistent with prior investments out of education budget, prison education. Okay, and that's from the state finance director, Bill Poole, during a budget presentation. Okay, we have to understand that. We have to understand that. Excuse me. Now there's also part of this article where you have this gentleman that's talking about, he's a Democrat, of course, and here we go. Like, I'm gonna read what he says. Democratic Representative Chris England out of Tuscaloosa County. He says that this construction is unsustainable. Okay, he's saying this in regards to the whole $100 million coming out of the education budget, but he's misleading people, or he just doesn't know what's going on. He says the irony is of this already of the school to prison pipeline that everybody always identifies is now we're using education money to build a prison. That's what he's saying. So the whole school to prison pipeline theory is being shown before our eyes because he's saying they're stealing money from the education budget to build a prison. There you go. There's a connection. He says, I don't think anything captures our problem more than that. Okay. Now, let's talk about that whole prison, the school to prison pipeline thing. So it's up to parents to raise their children with morals, with standards, with discipline, to not go out and commit crimes at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 on up. Right? It's not on anybody else's responsibility to do that. It's primarily the parents' responsibility. Okay, it's not the school's responsibility to discipline your child, to teach them right and wrong and all that. That's up to the parents. School is there to teach you how to read, write, do math, the 3 R, read, write, arithmetic. That's it. That's all they should be doing. Is equipping you educationally to go into the world and be productive. So this whole school to prison pipeline thing is nobody's giving your child guns. I'll say, like the big bad white supremacy idea. No white supremacists are giving your black children guns and telling them to go out here and commit crimes and rob people, shoot people, shoplift from stores, and etc. Nobody's making them do that. They're doing that because they've been taught to do that, or they've learned that they can do those things, and that mommy, daddy, auntie, grandmama, somebody else will turn a blind eye to it and take their side. So they know that they're able to get away with committing crimes. So they escalate their crimes as they get older, their crimes get worse. So he's making it seem like this representative out of Tuscaloosa County, he's trying to say that there's this whole school to prison pipeline, and this is why that's going on, because the governor, Republican governor, is taking money from the education budget so the kids can't learn. That's what he's trying to say. That's not the case, man. They get plenty of money. These schools get plenty of money in Alabama. Okay? They get plenty. So money is not the issue. Real quick about that. You know what? I'm not gonna go to that. That's a whole nother video. But so that's that about the $100 million money being used. Now, I want to bring this other article into it, and this is from U.S. News. Now, it's funny how U.S. News, like, of course, that's like a left-leaning media outlet, so they're going to speak to this issue from the point of they don't like what anything that Governor Ivey is going to do, because she's got an R by her name. So that's a part of this too, the whole R beside her name. If it was a Democrat governor, like, there wouldn't be this much pushback on what they wanted to do. But because there's a Republican governor, there's an issue with it. Now, there was this issue of they were letting, I think the parole board basically like voted, and they wanted to allow certain inmates that receive good behavior could get out earlier, right? And they were just letting out people. They were letting out guys who committed manslaughter, kill people. Okay, they could earn good time and get out. Okay, as a matter of fact, there was an officer that got killed by a guy. Here it is. There was a Sergeant Nick Reisner of Sheffield, Alabama. He was actually killed by a guy, and the guy had been let out on the good time that he had accrued, and so then he was able to kill the officer. And I'm gonna read it right here. Lawmakers last year added manslaughter to the list of offenses ineligible for a good time following the shooting death of Sergeant Nick Reisner of Sheffield, a man accused of killing Bibb County Deputy Brad Johnson in 2022. Oh, so it was him. A man accused of killing Bibb County Deputy Brad Johnson had been released with good time despite escaping from a work release center in 2019. So the guy had escaped in 2019, got captured again, went back to prison, accrued good time, was let out, and then killed a deputy, Brad Johnson, in 2022. A spokesperson for the prison system said in July that Austin Hall, who was in a local jail on other charges after being captured, never returned to state prison custody after his escape. So he never had a disciplinary hearing to revoke the good time. Like, and that's another issue too. We have a lot of escapes that happen from our prison system here. That's another part that doesn't really get talked about. We're always getting alerts here in Alabama about escapees. And a lot of them, they escape from work release. There are people who shouldn't even be on work release. Like, you have people that have killed people and then let them be on work release, and of course they escape. It's happened, I mean, countless times. So there's a big reason why in Alabama, we need the prison, and we need it to be run correctly. Like, when my personal opinion about it is violent crimes like murder, rape, robbery, assault, um, even pedophilia. Like if you're involved in any of that type of stuff, you just shouldn't even be out of jail. Like you should get hard time, especially murder, rape, pedophilia. You should definitely do life. Okay, if you're found guilty of those, life at the minimum, life. Okay, I'm not gonna go on here and say what I really would like to have done, but life at the minimum. And if you're assaulting people, right, robbing people, you should get a hard time. It should be a harsh penalty associated with that crime. You shouldn't do a couple years and get out and then you do it again. That's what we see happening a lot. A lot of times these inmates, they go to jail for manslaughter. All right, they get 5 years. They do 3.5. They come back home. They rob somebody, shoot them. Shoot a mother, rob a mother, broad daylight, shoot her. She survives, so they get an attempted murder or aggravated robbery, some kind of charge like that. They plead guilty. They get another 7 years. They do 5. Come back. They keep doing that. And a lot of these people are black. It ain't the big bad white man that's doing this over and over again. Yeah, they commit crimes too, but the majority are black, and they keep committing these crimes because they keep getting out of jail to do it. Their sentences are not long enough. Their punishment is not harsh enough. That needs to be changed. And I'm also going to do a video on the Lakeith Smith story. I have a lot to say about that, but I'm gonna link these in the description for y'all so y'all can check these out and read up on it. Especially if you're in Alabama, I think y'all, if you're like on the fence, you're not sure about whether or not to support this prison being built. Like, I think that you should definitely get behind it. I mean, especially if you're a person who feels bad for the inmates, right? For the conditions that they're in. There's too many of them in a small place, and they got sewage issues, and they got substandard food and substandard living conditions and all that. No heating and air. Like, if you're worried about all that, then you should definitely be for this. And if you're for rehabilitation of inmates, you should definitely be for this, because they're putting a lot of money into the vocational and the educational facilities at the prison. So that will help them further along their rehabilitation to be ready to come out into society and be productive citizens and not have to feel like they have to go commit crimes to make it in life. But that's what I want to say about that. Y'all let me know what y'all agree with, what y'all don't agree with. To me, I think it's pretty much like cut and dry about, what should be done. I think a lot of things just get conflated. I think people just don't really know a lot of information, or they take certain information and don't really look at the whole picture, and they make their mind up, right? And I just think people need to kind of open their mind, read everything, take it all in, then decide where do you stand on it. You don't have to just see a headline and just say, oh, I think this about that headline. Because usually the headline is not the story. Like, I have to read these. When I do these videos, I have to read the fine print, read the article to really get to what's going on. And a lot of times, the best information is at the very bottom. Okay? Like, I read that article from WSFA, and Chris England, okay, the guy representing Tuscaloosa County was talking about the whole school to prison pipeline, and how they're basically taking money from the schools to give to build a prison. But he's not giving the information. But see, they added that at the very bottom instead of putting that up near the top. They put it at the bottom so they help you don't even see that. And he's just talking nonsense. Like, put that nonsense at the top so people can see what he's thinking about this situation and how wrong he is. He wants people to see it a certain way. So anyway, man, y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all leave me a like, share this video, and of course, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. Till next time, this is From Left to Right USA. I am the captain, and I am